Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hyped-up world of medical AI to reveal a pretty fascinating reality. You hear a lot about AI these days, right? But the truth of how it actually learns to practice medicine, well, it might surprise you.
We so often think of artificial intelligence as this autonomous, robotic genius. But the reality? AI actually relies completely on a massive, almost invisible army of human teachers. Who exactly is doing this teaching? Let's dive in.
Here's what we're going through today. First, the humans behind healthcare AI. Then, how we structured the medical chaos. Human-in-the-loop systems, teaching AI with something called RLHF, and finally, the real clinical impact. Let's get right to it.
First up, the humans behind healthcare AI. Basically, medical school for machines.
Okay, so AI companies desperately need doctors and nurses with actual bedside experience, not just computer scientists. Take a recent job listing from a company called Smarter DX. They're offering up to $150,000 a year for clinical experts, and they make it absolutely crystal clear. Direct patient-facing experience is the core skill set. Meaning, you literally cannot just code your way into medical AI. You have to have been in the trenches, collaborating with physicians, actually taking care of patients.
These seasoned clinicians work right alongside medical data annotators who meticulously label images, audio, and text. They are doing the real grunt work here. They're enhancing diagnostic accuracy by tagging specific regions of interest in scans, accelerating drug discovery by crunching massive trial data sets, and streamlining administrative headaches. Plus, they're pulling all of this off while navigating those ridiculously complex data privacy laws like HIPAA. Seriously, the AI is entirely dependent on this initial human translation. Without them, the machine knows absolutely nothing.
Moving on to Section 2, structuring the medical chaos, or translating the clinic into code.
Healthcare is messy. To make sense of that chaos, we use rigid frameworks like ICD-10, basically handing the AI a highly standardized textbook to learn from. If you're not familiar, the 10th edition of the International Classification of Diseases is a hyper-specific coding system. It uses alphanumeric codes up to 7 characters long to map really complex, chaotic, real-world diseases into neat, organized categories.
Now, to ensure that translation from a wildly unpredictable clinic to a rigid database is actually accurate, we rely on something called HITL, or Human in the Loop. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a system where a human actively participates in the operation, the supervision, or the decision-making of an automated AI workflow. They are the ultimate safety net.
Think about the stark contrast between unstructured, free-flowing nursing documentation and the incredibly rigid data that an AI actually needs. Sure, natural language processing is getting way better at reading free text observations, but an AI model still trains best and operates most efficiently on rigid data. Think ICD-10 codes and those strict drop-down menus you see in an electronic health record.
Let's look at an example. A long, messy operative report gets boiled all the way down into this exact ICD-10 code, 0FT4ZZ. This gives algorithms a hyper-specific, standardized language. To put that level of detail into perspective for a second, the 0 stands for medical and surgical, the F is the hepatobiliary system, the T means resection, the first 4 tells us it's the gallbladder, the second 4 signifies a percutaneous endoscopic approach, and those Z's at the end, they just mean no device and no qualifier. It literally converts a whole paragraph of human surgical notes into 7 precise characters a machine can instantly understand. It's kind of amazing.
We also see this kind of forced structure in electronic health records like point-click care. You'll have mandatory fields that literally prevent a profile from processing if they're left blank. You've got standardized admissions assessments, super strict allergy dropdowns, and very rigid pharmacy order formatting. All of this basically forces the human workers to structure the chaos right at the point of care, long before that data ever reaches an algorithm.
Which brings us to our third part, human-in-the-loop systems, the ultimate fail-safe.
Keeping a human in the loop is absolutely vital. Why? Because even the smartest, most advanced models out there struggle with ambiguity. Plus, sweeping regulations like the EU AI Act actually mandate human oversight for high-risk systems. We need humans to catch those weird errors and edge cases that deviate from the training data. It's the only way to ensure these complex programs operate safely, ethically, and effectively when dealing with someone's actual health. So how do they practice safely? Healthcare workers use strictly controlled environments called learning sandboxes. And these are vastly different from the open environments your typical software developer might use. Look at it this way. Developers usually work in environments with 0 guardrails that are just constantly running.
But learning sandboxes, they have strict access control policies and they only run on demand. It's totally locked down. This guarantees that the humans in the loop can train, test, and practice without any risk whatsoever of causing real-world harm or violating patient privacy.
Moving right along to Section 4, Teaching AI with RLHF, or the feedback loop. You know how you always have to select those blurry pictures of crosswalks or stoplights online to prove you're human? Well, medical professionals do something very similar to train AI, just at a vastly more complex level. We click CAPTCHAs to label crosswalks for self-driving cars. Clinicians use RLHF to label medical truth for algorithms. So RLHF stands for Reinforcement Learning from Human Feedback. It's this brilliant technique that guides the model through 4 very deliberate steps to align its output with human values. First up, we collect human prompts alongside natural, highly accurate responses. Second, the model goes through what's called supervised fine-tuning. Third, and this is where the magic really happens, a completely separate reward model is built directly on that human feedback. And finally, the AI uses that reward model to optimize its future decision-making. It's basically an incredibly sophisticated system of trial, error, and human grading.
During that reward modeling phase, real human clinicians are literally scoring the AI's responses. They're judging things like, is this insurance appeal letter accurate? Or they're catching incredibly dangerous clinical hallucinations before they ever reach a patient. These clinicians are actively rating AI-generated progress notes and verifying medical Q&A. By grading these outputs, saying, hey, this response is a 1 and this response is a 0, they are teaching the AI exactly what a helpful, truthful, and safe medical answer actually looks like in the real world.
And that brings us to our final section, the clinical impact. Why this is all about collaboration, not replacement. Because of all this meticulous, exhaustive human training, AI is making massive real-world impacts right now. We are talking about a 35% boost in diagnostic accuracy, alongside 25% jumps in both drug discovery and administrative relief, which is huge. This tells us that AI isn't replacing healthcare workers. Not at all. It's a tool forged by them, purposefully designed to elevate patient outcomes and just make their jobs a little bit easier. To really drive this home, let's look back at that Smarter DX job listing we talked about earlier. They explicitly state that a PhD in public health without bedside experience wouldn't meet the requirement to train their AI. But a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant who has actually been in the inpatient trenches, they absolutely would. The tech needs the human touch. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to wrap up on. With all this meticulous structuring of chaos and the endless feedback loops required to teach these machines, are we actually building artificial intelligence, or are we just beautifully augmenting our own? Something to think about. Thanks so much for exploring this topic with me today.